Welcome to TLC for the Soul podcast, where soul meets spirit. You have entered into sacred space. I'm your host, Tammy Lynn Chambers, and I'm here to help you shine. Now let's get going on this podcast journey. All right, welcome in, friends. Settle in. We have a little bit of an ASMR beginning to today's show. It's wind, but it's going to be a hot wind in a little bit. Oh, let's see. As we get ready for the show today, wrapping us all in love light and light love, inviting in the guide to overlight TLC for the soul, Archangel Michael, Archangel Metatron, the Pleiadians. I'm going to intuitively pick a enchanted scent for today. Bonfire. Oh, okay. Oh, fire. It smells like roasted marshmallows and fire. Just kind of, well, it's a little thing. Just kind of not slathered all over. I'm going to get some, oh, am I out of this too? Uh-oh. I have to order some more samples. Okay, so we've got Bonfire coming out. And we are going to pull a few cards today. So, opening up the tarot drawer. I want to pull some cards about the eclipse. So, what deck? The Hush Tarot. A little spooky little deck. It's not spooky, but it's very autumnal. All right. I cannot see myself because I've got my camera facing the other way. So whatever shows up is what's supposed to show up. Oh, welcome in. Welcome in. It's kind of odd, too, just looking the other way. Like, I don't know. Kind of different. I did make sure, like, I was on camera. All right, let me turn this down slightly. So this is Bringers of the Light Sunday. For today is, I don't know, October? No, or not October. Sunday, September 29th. Join me. We've got a lot to talk about in a little bit of time. As I'm at the tarot table, I'm going to have a different angle, not always having to sit on the floor. But the big news this week is the eclipse, the Libra. Not a total solar, I think it's a partial solar eclipse. But yeah, where do you guys want me to start? Okay, they're like, just keep going. They said they're walking me through it a step at a time. Right, that's our life. So the eclipse is actually on Wednesday. I don't know why for whatever reason I kept thinking it was the first, but it's on the second. The actual eclipse part happens late for me here. Happens later in the afternoon, and it's a new moon. The new moon, the actual exactness of the new moon for me here, I think it's like 2:00 in the afternoon. We did a whole Libra eclipse prep show on Patreon. If you're not familiar with Patreon, it's a members platform where I do exclusive content for members. There's like 3 different tiers right now, but the Libra eclipse is all about relationships. And the big thing, the other big thing aspecting this eclipse, so two things that they want y'all to know about. The first one is this eclipse, and I think we only did share this on Patreon. This eclipse, it's so loud, is at 10 degrees Libra. And we have not had a new moon solar eclipse at 10 degrees Libra since October of 2005. So think about, we're getting a big reset on whatever was going on in October 2005. And like I said on Patreon, October 2005, Spirit gave me a very specific directive to do something, to find a specific person. And it came to me in such a way that I was very clear that I was supposed to, well, you have free will choice, that I was supposed to take action on that, because Spirit came to me. The only time I've ever heard this so far in this lifetime, like outside, the voice that I heard was outside of me. It wasn't a person that was in my house. It was as if Archangel Michael had stepped outside of me and like said something behind my left shoulder into my ear. But it sounded like a voice that filled the entire room, and it just said, find X, this person's name. Well, it's not X, but I'm not saying their name, but find so-and-so. And that thus then led me down this path that thankfully is now, started out great, thankfully, hopefully, is now closing out at this particular eclipse on Wednesday. So it's a really long time. So for yourself, some of you, I think, I went back, I'm like, how long ago was that? Some of you, I think, were like way too young, because I know some of you are like in your 20s. Some of you may not be, you may be like, I was, a toddler at that time. Others, you're going to be like, oh yeah, October, the fall of 2005, what was happening for me at that time? So think about that. And it would have, I guess, been in the same area of relationships. That's what Libra is all about. So the other big thing that I think is something to take a deeper dive into is at the exact same degree point of the eclipse is Black Moon Lilith, also at 10 degrees Libra. Now, I'm not an astrologer. I want to learn, maybe there is some past life astrologer in me, but I want to learn more about astrology. And Black Moon Lilith is one that seems to come up a lot, but it's kind of like, what is that? And how does that affect me or whatever? So for October on Patreon, I am starting in October, going to start doing an intuitive astrology interactive course for members on Patreon. And we are going to spend some time, and it's interactive in that, I'm going to walk you through, because I'm going to have the guides, whoever's coming in to help with astrology stuff, come in and guide me. And so that we're both kind of learning, because I would consider myself, dabbling in astrology right now. But the astrology is the blueprint. Your astrology chart is the blueprint of your incarnation in this lifetime. And so to me, that knowledge is power, right? To be able to understand kind of what are the key themes you came here for, how do these different, moon cycles and eclipses and all that. This bird is really loud. Going to show up for you. So we're going to take a look at the very first, I guess, course. This will be a course series, so we'll do one a month on Patreon. But for Bringers of the Light tier and above, we're going to be doing a deep dive into Black Moon Lilith. And we will be using, I think it's kind of fun, we are going to be using the Bringers of the Light, my Bringers of the Light book series. We'll be using our spirit friends, our characters from Bringers of the Light as archetypes for the astrology that we're going to be learning about, because I find that, it's always easier to like learn when something's fun at the same time, right? So how do you remember something? You may put it to a song, or if you have to memorize things, right, you may make a rhyme out of it or whatever. So I thought it would be maybe fun, and also for my Bringers of the Light book series fans, to, do it. We'll be doing like character deep dive. We'll pick somebody like Dakar, Abigail from Bringers of the Light Rockaway Point, or Count Mashar, like somebody. And at the same time, for anybody who's a fan of the books, we'll do a deep dive. And they're archetypes too, even if you're not a fan of the books. They're archetypes because all my work is channeled. I'm an author, artist, and master healer. And all of my books are done via automatic writing. I don't plan books. I don't plan characters. The spirit friends come to me, and we go into partnership together, and we channel a story together. And I present that to you in ebooks and paperback, physical books and audio books. So it would be fun, I think, to do a deep dive on those archetypes of our different Bringers of the Light book friends. We've got so many, and I've been going back through, trying to plan out the audiobooks that I want to deliver, and just going back through some of the older stories and just really enjoying those. So just this little bit of housekeeping before we get to our storytelling for this week too. So October is the 7th year of TLC for the Soul on YouTube and on our podcast, and our Bringers of the Light book series, which is one of many book series that I write. All my ebooks are free to read. Links to everything I talk about are always in the show notes, because I know we have a lot of new people joining the community here at TLC for the Soul. No matter where you're joining, I'm welcoming you in, and just in deep gratitude for anybody that keeps showing up and interacting with the work. It's not just you showing up, to look at somebody's channel and consume the content. The content here is designed in such a way by my guides and myself to be healing, interactive, motivational, uplifting, in reciprocity for you being here. So, it's not all about, how many people are in the community. It's all about what service can we at TLC for the Soul provide to those people that consume this content, in the way of healing or whatever you might need. We are engaged in a variety of healing modalities, and we're going to start a separate healing series every month too. So Bringers of the Light book series is 5 years of Bringers of the Light books. Apple Books, Google Books, Barnes & Nobles, Kobo, Smashwords is my ebook publisher. All my books are free to read. I do nonfiction out there as well. So you can go take a look at those. Are they in perfect form? Have they been copy edited a jillion times? No, I am the one and only TLC for the Soul. And so, you may find that they're not, perfectly. If you're like a grammar snob, or no, I'm not grammar, but if you're like a punctuation snob or whatever, then you probably don't, look at those, because you have to be in the mindset of looking at these books from a higher perspective. And I go in periodically and I do re-edit those. And we're working right now on a couple. We're working on audiobooks for The Stallion Returns, which I've got some juicy next chapters coming up this week. We've got some new people stepping into the Thunder Rose Ranch. And we are working on, in this Bringers of the Light Sundays, we were working on a new short story together for Bringers of the Light Rockaway Point and Tessa Locke. We're back with Abigail and Dakar in a short story called Flying Potion. And again, with the channeling that I did over the past couple of days for that, we have new people coming in. So everything that happens is the channelings that we do for the show and for the books. I ask that what I present, the prose kind of mirrors what's happening right now in the energy. And so it's so fitting that the channelings that were brought in were like all these new people coming in to both book series, right at the time of the Libra solar eclipse this coming week. So we'll play with that in just a second. So we've got a new healing series coming up. So I'll be splitting out the October energy hangout, and doing something with that with y'all this coming week. And then we'll have a separate show for October healing and light language activations. And then in Patreon, we'll be doing the Black Moon Lilith intuitive astrology workshop. So links to my Patreon are there too. You can go take a look at the tiers and see if that interests you. I thought there was one other thing, but I'll just keep going beyond that. Okay, so let's take a breath. And so for October, I'm going to re-release an audiobook. It's not really have been in audiobook form, but the very first Bringers of the Light series book, Pumpkin Pie Latte, was created in October of 2019. And so as an anniversary, 5-year anniversary for our Bringers of the Light book series, since that's book 1, I'll be releasing Pumpkin Pie Latte as an audio book on YouTube and on the podcast. And so you'll see that coming up for October as well. In addition to whatever else I might be able to fit in October, I don't quite know yet exactly what all, but those 3 things for now are what's coming that I'm aware of. So let's go ahead and read Flying Potion chapter for the week ahead as it's sussed out in the channeling. And then I'm going to use the Hush Tarot to draw a few extra cards for guidance for us about the Libra eclipse and what things we might need to be aware of there. Because I always feel like, I feel like with any kind of new moon or full moon, right in advance of that, this illusory kind of, hall of mirrors kind of energy comes up, and we're kind of made to look deeper at shadow stuff. It always happens. It seems to always happen. Something does seem to come up to be taken a look at. So I want to dive into that just so you have a heads up on what could potentially be coming up over the next 3 or 4 days. All right, so I'm looking at this ambience video here just to see if anything stands out as something I need to. It's a campsite, but it's a campsite. It very much appears to be a campsite for a singular person. Like there's only one chair, one fishing rod, a very small tent, a little tiny rowboat. Well, get ready, one singular person, because things are about to change. Libra, right? Libra is the 7th house in astrology. It's all about relationships. It doesn't necessarily have to be romantic relationships, but it typically, in my opinion, is more about one-to-one relationships versus community people type relationships. It's more like, soulmates, business partners, romantic partners. And Libra is the scales and justice and balancing things out. And all morning I have been seeing references to the abacus, the ancient, probably so ancient. My people that are into like finances or math or counting or kind of know exactly, and others are going to be like, I use my calculator on my phone. This like an ancient tool, and it has like the beads on the strings or the wires, and you would it was used, actually just read it was been used since 300 like BC or whatever. But I find the sound of the little wooden balls clicking back and forth, but I've seen the abacus just with my third eye in some different things around the house 3 or 4 times today. So that to me is about balancing things out, karmic justice. We just said we're closing out a big long, is it 19 years since 2005? Yeah, right? 19 years? Oh my God, maybe I need an abacus to do my math. All right, let's read. All right, so we've been reading Flying Potion. If this is news to you, then I have already posted. We're just barely into like the 3rd and 4th chapters. I posted the audiobook for Flying Potion, chapters 1 and 2. It's already out there. It's in a playlist in Spotify and YouTube. Elsewhere, well, I just posted it, so if you scroll back a couple of shows, it'll be there. And I'm going to then just briefly summarize, and then we're going to read this chapter. And what we do is we read this so you can see Flying Potion. It's just a fun story. You should, if you want to be more interactive, invite in your guides and ask them to help you suss out any additional suss means different things nowadays, right? Just tease out any additional metaphors that might pertain to you, because the point of this is, yes, to have a fun story, yes, to play with the archetypes, but also to pull out metaphors as they might pertain to your now moments and your week ahead energy, what's coming up for you. as a, just like any other tarot or oracle card reading. So with Flying Potion, we had Dakar in the Black Tongue in Rockaway Point, on some Bringers of the Light mission, and Abigail was in Rockaway Point with her sister cities. They're like 25 or so miles, depending on which road you take, miles apart. And he was like, why did Highcore, that's their Bringers of the Light boss, why did he send me to this place? Like, there's nothing happening here. It's boring. Their food isn't very good. I had to send back my badly burned vegetable tart. And so he uses his mental telepathy, because him and his divine counterpart, Abigail, it's much easier sometimes for them to communicate with their minds rather than picking up the phone. And so he pings her and he's like, do you want me to come home and, hang out with you? And of course, she can't say no to Dakar. She could never say no to Dakar. And so he decides to go home and hang out with her. And in the meantime, she's been cooking, and some of her stuff, like she was missing him, she was missing her man, and she was missing her mom and her coven, and I guess nobody was around. And so she had made a couple of things. She owns like a bakery, savory bakery kind of place, Crust. And she cooked a couple of things and she tasted them. She's like, this is horrible. So then she tried this broccoli casserole. She tried to remake this broccoli casserole, and she enchanted the broccoli casserole with all of this like love and this, that, and the other. And she decides that she's going to watch who comes into Crust that day and gets the broccoli casserole, so that she can follow them over the next 48 hours or so to see how her enchanted spells are working on their behalf. I guess it's just something to do while she's waiting for him to come home. I don't know what she's waiting. I don't know what she's doing. She's just having fun with magic. That's what she's doing. Okay. So I'm not going to read chapter 3. I am going to post the audiobook for this probably tomorrow for chapters 3 and 4. But chapter 3 was Broccoli Has Wings. And this is where 2 new people came into Crust. 2 new people came into our awareness. And those were the 2 people waiting to get in for Crust to open. One of them is, I do kind of want to read this. One of them is Rory. His name is Rory. And, Rory. So Rory comes in. Rory and Sunny come in. And Rory says, man, I feel like, they ordered the broccoli casserole. They ate the broccoli casserole. And they already started deciding, Rory and Sunny, that they wanted to take the day off work and go do something fun. And so Rory suddenly feels like going to the marina and taking his dad's boat, the Old Sioux, out for a spin. And Sunny says, well, she works for Clark Witherspoon at Posh Pets, which is our Rockaway Point veterinary office. And she has a 1 o'clock blowout for one of her regular customers' candy. Not for the customer, but for their dog. The poodle gets like a blowout at the blowout bar. So Rory pays the bill. He wants to go have some fun. It says he's been working hard for his father, Grant, at Tessa Locke's only law firm, Higgledy's Proper Attorneys at Law. Now, I've been creating a small business registry for all of the towns that are part of the Bringers of the Light series, because there's so many fun ones. And the majority of them I try to make like outros for the show, as if it was like, a sponsored ad or whatever. But Higgledy specializes in property law and land management cases. If old Mrs. McGillicuddy's big oak tree fell on your car during a storm, then Higgledy's was who you would call on to sort out all the details of who owed who what and who must pay for this or that. Rory, who'd recently received his law certificate, allowed him to apprentice with Grant, his dad, but not yet practice law in the courts, although Tessa Locke had its own unique way of handling law cases. And so Rory tells Grant, I'm going to go out on our boat, the Old Sioux. I think it's funny. It's called the Old Sioux. Sioux, they're attorneys, S-U-E. Okay. And then Sunny decides she's going to so Sunny came to Rockaway Point at the insistence of Clark Witherspoon. Somehow they knew each other back on the good old New England side of the United States. We don't have yet to know Clark's whole backstory, but he bought Sunny the Rambling Rose cottage in Rockaway Point and said, if you come and work for my vet practice and do the grooming, because apparently she's this amazing dog groomer, then I bought you this cottage that you can stay in. And Sunny says she's finally decided she would sell her home in Nantucket, USA, and become a resident of the good old UK. Magic was afoot in the broccoli casserole and in their lives, and Rory and Sunny were about to get some next level magic at the insistence of Abigail's spell work. So I don't know if there's any of you that are thinking of maybe changing countries or moving from one country to another, but we've got Sunny, who is a U.S. citizen, deciding that she wants to become a U.K. citizen, which is like Tessa Lock and Rockaway Point are like etheric cities here in the UK. So that's catching you up with chapter 3. But for this week ahead, we're going to be looking at the metaphors in chapter 4, which is beans aren't burnt. Now, Beans Aren't Burnt is also a business in Tessa Lock. It's a coffee shop. And maybe there's something going on with businesses too, like what is it? Like soul, you know what I'm trying to say. Like family-owned businesses, whether you're just starting or whether you've been around, 75 years or whatever. Because when I looked up abacus on Google search, it brought up a picture of an abacus, but it also brought up something called the Abacus Corporation. And it was very vague, like, what is this place? Is it a finance firm or whatever? And when I went to it and went to the About Us, it was about a family-owned business that's like over 75 years old. And it was started by a husband and wife. It had nothing to do with math. It was a janitorial service, but it talked about how over the years they've worked themselves up to a large company, and about all their visions and stuff for the future of this company had come into fruition over this 75 years. So I feel like there's a lot going on with like legacy, what I call legacy money and legacy land. And ancestral wealth in these chapters. And with that, I'm usually working with Archangel Ariel on financial matters. And so because we have the abacus coming in and the balancing out of things, I feel like there's something here for balancing coming in for folks that may be ending relationships that weren't financially suitable for them, or upgrading to new relationships or partnerships that will be more financially stable. And also with the whole karma factor as part of Libra, the balancing of scales. It could be too that maybe you've done a bunch of like what I call bringers of the light soul work over your lifetime. So you've done a lot of like giving to others, maybe giving your time, giving your funds, giving, who knows, a bunch of free stuff. I don't know, which means you built your karmic bank up, your good karmic bank up really, really high. And maybe someone's coming in to support you with that. Maybe there's some things with finance. When I say legacy money and legacy lands and stuff, it's kind of like what I feel like is stuff that's like, quote unquote, divinely owed to you by the universe for all of the good work that you've done out in the world to help others. Maybe some of it you don't even realize you're doing, some sort of charitable giving, service work. It could be different for each one of you. But I feel like maybe some of that has been held back from you for some reason. And so with this eclipse brings in some sort of partnership or person or one-on-one commitment type thing. And suddenly with that also at the same time comes in all this stuff you were like, quote unquote, I keep saying quote unquote, divinely owed through your good karma starts to come in now. And I could do like hours and hours talk on this, but it's just the tip of the iceberg of what the energies potentials are for this particular eclipse. So let's go ahead and read chapter 4, Beans Aren't Burnt. Listen with your master senses, and see what stands out to you. Rory and Sunny took the coast highway round to Tessa Lock. It was a little longer of a trip, but so beautiful to drive along and see the ocean out the window. There was a little spot at the halfway point between the two towns where you could pull your car off and sit under the trees at some little tables. There was also some sort of food truck or vendor there selling hot drinks or a savory snack. Look, it's the Beans Aren't Burnt food truck, Sunny said as they parked the car and got out to stretch their legs. Let's get a pumpkin pie latte and some of their scones. Rory, still full from the broccoli casserole, settled for a flat white and a blueberry corn muffin, while Sunny got a large pumpkin pie latte and a strawberry scone. Mrs. O'Mathers had used the last of her summer's strawberries in the mix. Her son Paul, legacy business, family businesses, her son Paul plated up the treats while his twin brother, I forgot about this, I forgot there was twins in here. Her son Paul plated up the treats while his twin brother Saul made the drinks. Paul and Saul were identical twins with a knack for rhymes and some very fun Kayleys at their own pub in town, the Black Dog, not to be confused with Black Tongue Properties. Rory and Sunny took their drinks and sat under the very old whispering pines to enjoy the day. The sailboat was being readied for their journey by Rory's friend Talcan. These are all new people. Talcan was all about the maritime adventure and lived on his own boat in the marina, the Holy Spiritus. The old Sioux would be ready for the pair when they arrived, and for now, Rory and Sunny could simply enjoy their Beans Aren't Burnt fare and relax. A strange sensation came over Sunny, and she looked behind her and past Rory's shoulder into the pines. I just had the strangest feeling, she said, with a shiver in the late autumn sun. I feel like we're being watched. No one here but us, Rory said. Did he really say it like that? I don't know. Do I have a voice for Rory? Maybe not yet. No one here but us, Rory said, although he felt it too. 30 miles back in Rockaway Point, Abigail waved her hand over her scrying mirror. It looked like the couple were having a joyous, fun time. It was everything she could hope for since she'd used some of her finest magic on that casserole. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I think really there's not too much more to suss out in there, to tuss out or tease out. I don't know why I say the word suss. Tease out. We've got new people coming in. I think it's everything I just said. They took a little bit of a longer trip. I do think this is a week for, taking things easy, taking things slow. There's a sort of tantra about the week ahead. Will the new person that's promised or the new partnership that's promised with this, is it promised? Really? Hold on. Let me just, I'm saying promise, but I'm like, what is that? Is it promised with this eclipse? A new person, a new partnership? They're saying pretty much so. Okay, so it's promised with this eclipse, this new person, this new partnership, this new business partnership, this family business. Something starts to come together this week with this eclipse, but it's like, okay, if you don't know the word tantra, to me, another way to put tantra is like seducing you. To me, tantra is all about seduction. It's not about the act of sex. It's about the seduction of what's to come. So if you were to have like a tantric relationship with somebody, it would be more about the magic of it and the feeling into the seduction of the energy, like pulling you in, pulling you closer. I'd liken it to something like, that person smells so good, and just imagining. I think it's about imagining and calling this thing in, whatever it is. So the Spirit's saying it's promised to you But your role this week, I feel like, is to, number one, enjoy yourself if you're calling in something that's not here yet. The other thing is kind of interacting with the energy of what you want in such a way that's a little bit seductive, kind of magical in nature, watching your dreams. I had the weirdest dream last night. I don't usually have dreams where things stand out so specifically. I tell you, I'm usually doing soul work, and not soul work. I'm usually doing service work in my dreams. I go somewhere else and I'm teaching or I'm doing stuff, and it's not very memorable. I don't remember things so, specifically. But last night, as part of my dream, I don't even remember who I was with. The only thing I really remember about it is we went to a George Strait concert. And I mean, I like country. Country's not my first choice, but I like country music. But it was so specific. And it was George Strait up there on stage, and he was singing his, familiar songs or whatever. But I just found it so odd because that's not like I said, it's not typically the first music I would pick up and listen to. And George Strait is like a older, country type person. Like, so maybe, I don't know, but so pay attention to your dreams, because maybe the thing that's coming in for you is something that is going to start showing up. Well, I think it's already been showing up for quite some time now, but I think it's going to be seducing you in different ways and like giving you like clues as to what's coming. I don't even know if Jerry's still alive. But, do I want to go to concerts? Heck yeah. But I wouldn't, again, but if somebody I knew was said, let's go to a George Strait concert, I'd be like, yeah, I love going to like live music performances, Broadway shows. I love musicals. So, pay attention to things like that are coming up. Very specific food references here. Oh, broccoli casserole, flat whites, and blueberry corn muffins, making me hungry. Pumpkin pie latte and strawberry scones. And Mrs. O'Mathers using her own special. Maybe some of you are thinking about opening some sort of like food business or bakery or food trucks. Food trucks are a big, I don't know if they're, I would think they're profitable. They'd have to be, right? Your rent is your truck. I don't know, but in Maui or in Hawaii, food trucks are a really big thing. And I have this list. I have the mental list of all these food trucks I would want to go to if I ever go. When I go back to Hawaii. See, that's the thing. That's the other thing you have to do to seduce this energy is that I think there's still could be some self-doubt about if this person shows up or if this business takes off or if I ever go back to this place I want to go back to. It's not if, you've got to be more definitive and be like when my person shows up, when I go back to this place, when my business, starts or wherever the case may be. I think that could be a niggle, that could be a sniggling niggle that could come up to like get you a little bit during this eclipse window, like I said, of the next 3 or 4 days till about Friday, because we have to integrate those energies a couple of days after the eclipse happens. But I feel like there could be this niggle of like, if my person ever shows up, if my business, and it's like, no, Spirit just said that that's promised. Whatever these things are that you've only been working on are part of your dharma. They're part of your blessing of good karma. And Spirit just told us that they are actually divinely like promised and meant for us. So we have to stop disbelieving the guidance that we're getting and the things that we're seeing, and step into more of a, the faith the size of a mustard seed thing. Okay, so I think there's the other thing too here is magic being worked in the background. No matter, in this case, Abigail's working this magic with this broccoli casserole, but I would say Abigail is a conduit. Why is the Abigail coming out so forcefully? Abigail is like a conduit for Spirit, working magic in the background on your behalf. And I do feel like these types of things that we've been waiting a long time for tend to arrive in this dreamy kind of crazy ways, just like what I told you about in October of 2005. I was just in my kitchen in my house. I remember having made some big intentions at that time. I remember saying something like, man, I just want to live by myself. I was living with someone at the time. It was a very long-term relationship. I think it was almost 18-year relationship. But I was like, I'm getting tired of this. It's just no longer for me. And I didn't tell anybody that, but just every now and again, I would say like, man, I wish I just lived by myself in my own little cottage. I didn't have to deal with anybody or anything. And then in my kitchen one day, that I told you, this voice comes booming out from behind my ear and it says, find this person. And then my whole life changed. But the energy around what happened, I mean, whoever has, how many people have that happen? And it was a magical journey to find that person, but it kind of turned into like a nightmare. But that was all happening to clear some very deep karmic imprints and karmic loops, and to serve some karmic justice up, and to get out of karmic loops and to raise in vibration. Whole things happened from that one thing, and my ascension process started. And many, many, many things occurred during that period of time. But I feel like these new things coming in are seducing us in the same way. Like, spirit showing up and saying, hey, this is meant for you. You're doing something and you're like, what the heck? Because that's how this next part of my life kind of showed up. Like 4 years ago, spirit came in and said like, hey, this is not good enough for you. Basically, in a nutshell, this is not good enough for you. And it was like this little small whisper. And I was like, well, what? What do you mean? I have options? You always have options. And thus embarked this journey towards, this manifestation I'm trying to get to now. It's been seducing me for the last 4 years. Just that's a whole other thing. That's a whole backstory that would be like more of like a private video. But I think you guys have that too. Like something's been pulling you in, pulling you towards it. It's not your imagination. It's the energy of the other thing reaching out to you through the astros, as well as your guides. I think they're very heavily involved, planting very specific seeds and pushing energy in certain ways at certain times. It's not random. It's not it's not a spirit algorithm. I think they do very specific pushes of energy and make things happen at certain times, to, number one, keep you persevering and keep you going towards what you want. Number two, hey, magic, for me, magic is fun. That's got to be a part of my everyday. If what I'm calling in does not have that same feeling of like run away with the fairies and magic and all this earth magic-y goodness, then, that's definitely not aligned with me. So I feel like, you're being surrounded by the energy of what's to come in. And it should feel very aligned to you. And anything that's leaving should be, but you already know that that's no longer aligned. And I think over this past, however long it's been for you, whatever those things are, have been I think Spirit has very slowly removed those things from your reality. And so here we are now at this next doorway, this next gateway. This eclipse. All right, let's get one card. I have no idea what the timing is. I cannot see. That's a huge metaphor right now because my camera's flipped. I usually have my camera facing me so I can see what I'm doing and see myself and see the timer and all that. But I get a better picture from the rear-facing cameras than I do the front-facing camera, so I left it that way on purpose. But I think that's a huge metaphor for I can't see what's coming. I can't really see what I'm doing. I just have to trust that I did kind of measure, like, trust that I'm in camera, if that really matters at all, that I'm in the camera. Trust that this video is not going on for hours and hours. How long have we been here? Actually, I do kind of know. 43 minutes. So let's just draw. I don't like to go too much beyond that because the videos get really long. Let's just get one little card to see if there's anything else about this week ahead that we need to be aware of. The Wheel card number 10. The freaking Wheel of Fortune. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know where to put it there, but the Wheel of Fortune. This card came up, I think, in our Patreon Libra prep video. Changing tides and goals. And you know what? When I did the Patreon video, this card was in the reverse, and it had to do with defeat, falling behind, and a negative attitude. And now this card is coming in upright, the exact same card. Changing tides and goals. And it's an ant in water, like on a leaf. Oh, this deck is so amazing. Ants are hard workers and reminders that time and effort lead to good things. Perseverance, I'm telling you guys. One must always keep their eyes on their goals. Learn to accept that both good and bad fortune are to be appreciated. Yes, because if I hadn't spent the last jillion years working on clearing all this other stuff, then I would not be in a position to be where I'm at now to accept this much better thing that's coming. To a tiny ant caught in the current, it is difficult to see how things will work out. We just said that. Life needs to be experienced from different perspectives to become fully comprehended. Understand that difficulties now will pass and a time to take a breath will come soon. I don't think I need to say anything more. So thank you all so much for joining me here. You'll see me again here this coming week with quite a few different offerings for you. October Energy Hangout, which is our Earth Council update, an October Healing and Light Language Activation show, some audiobook drops for Flying Potion and for The Stallion Returns, and I probably will drop the first chapters of Pumpkin Pie Latte. So choose what content to interact with. If all the audiobooks are too much, just pick your favorite one. I personally can do I can multitask, and so I have a lot of things going at the same time in terms of book stuff. So just, take what resonates and leave the rest for somebody else. And we will see you all again soon, somewhere in the astrals at TLC for the Soul. Take care. La-di-doo, la-di-dee. Gonna stop my camera. Let's see where it actually is at. 4630 if you're looking for an angel number. 4630. 46 and 30. All right, bye y'all. See y'all again later. Take care.
This episode has been brought to you by Buns and Such, Tessalak's premium bakery and workout bar. Visit anytime during the week and enjoy a free mini workout session and chocolate-filled donut. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you again soon.